oh, do an impression of me now, Neil. And Neil, I swear, he goes, and I was like, wait, your impression for me is the exact same thing as your impression for Chris? Disenchantment was like if The Simpsons and Lord of the Rings had a baby.
Disenchantment is pretty much the Elfo show.
Disenchantment was magically delicious.
There you go.
Everybody, welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast. Watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. And with us, as always, is Bard, Wizard, Bremen the Blue, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg.
Burgleby the well-traveled.
I thought you were Bremen the Blue for a while.
That was before I came up with Burgleby. Burgleby's my real wizard name.
Ooh, Burgleby the well-traveled. And joining us today is not only an actor, but really somebody that I think has found his home as a writer, director, producer of horror films. Really cool stuff. Really excited to have him. Our good friend, Mr. Neil Patrick Stevens.
Oh, hello. You know my middle name. We must go way back.
Yeah. My name's
Don't
Ryan
tell
T.
anyone.
Husk, and I know Mike's wizard names, all of them.
Both of them.
So today we're doing a review of Disenchantment, as you may have guessed. The first episode is called A Princess, an Elf, and a Demon Walk into a Bar. I was going to say barf, but I was like, that's just a dumb joke. Let's talk about it. So if you guys want us to review the first episode of a series, just say WTF and the series. That stands for Watch the First. You could say Watch the First Simpsons, or we already did Futurama.
Yeah.
Or you could do WTF Family Guy, or you could do WTF whatever.
Is it just cartoons, or can we do
anything?
Okay.
Anything. Smurfs, Snorks, Gummy Bears, Voltron, Transformers.
Voltron.
Anything.
Cool.
We just did it.
We just did it last week, I think. Maybe.
Thundercats. Have you
It
done
depends on when
Thundercats
this series.
Not WTF Thundercats.
Ho!
WTF Fraggle Rock.
How does that song go?
Down the Fraggle Rock.
The movie Thor Ragnarok. Anyway, so the way we start this thing off, once we are done horsing around, is we play what we expected. No, we do predictions. I almost forgot my favorite. This is actually my favorite. Predictions. Michael and I have known each other for over 20 years, so we like to predict what the other person thought of this. Neil, we've known you for quite some time as well. 5, 7, 10. Yeah.
The years just fly by.
Wait, more than a dozen years, I think, actually. We've known you for a long time.
Since the old
the
DG
contest
days,
too.
Right?
Yeah, so that was like 2007 or 2008. We've known you for like 14
Daily Grill's
years.
been out of business for at least 5 or 6 years. So
yeah. Okay. I just remembered what I was going to say. I was like, dude, I hope I didn't forget the funny story about you. Anyway.
Oh, can't wait.
So we like to predict.
Later.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Michael, I predict, look, you like The Simpsons, or at least you like The Simpsons very much. And you love fantasy stuff because you're a cool guy. I'm going to say that you liked it. I don't think you were over the moon blown away by it, but I think you were happy with it. I think you enjoyed it. Neil, I think with your horror flick sensibilities,
I'll give you that idea.
Yeah, I think that you went into it like going, okay, well, I guess I'll just watch this dumb cartoon thing for this thing. But I think it made you chuckle a few times, and you were like, okay, this is okay. And you'll end up, feeling it's around like a 5 or 6, and you're fine with it. Michael, what do you think? What are your guesses? Everybody at home, make your predictions. I'm sorry to interrupt, Michael, but I keep screwing up today.
Well,
make your predictions, guys. Predict in the live chat what you think we thought about it.
But
Please
predict
continue.
before Ryan made his predictions.
Yeah.
Somehow. Well, I'm going to roll the dice here, and I'm going to say that. So first of all, Ryan probably, I don't think, mentioned that we both have known each other for nigh on 20 years. It's Nyan, Bill Nygaard, I don't know.
Nye is
but
near.
Near on 20 years. And so I know that Ryan does not like Futurama, because we reviewed that one also already. And I know that he does not really care for many cartoons, with the exception of 80s cartoons, which he loves with a passion and forces me to rewatch, ruining my childhood memories of them.
Yeah, because they're never as good as you remember them.
So I'm going to roll the dice and say that Ryan did not care for this show. He liked the idea of a fantasy show, but he did not like their execution of it. He thought the jokes were dumb, and he's going to go. And Neil, I think was maybe lukewarm to it. Maybe he didn't really know what to expect or didn't really care. But then he walked away saying, "All right, okay."
I like it when Mike says lukewarm, because he has a kitty named Luke who's very cute, and he has a very cute voice. He goes like, "Meow." Anyway, Neil also has kitties. Do you have any predictions for us?
Am I allowed to piggyback off of Michael's?
yeah.
Or is this like on ESPN where I have to like offer a hot take and do the opposite of what Michael just said? Because
it's up to you, really. I mean, you can do whatever you want.
It's not Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith.
Well,
Whoever
I'll tell
those
you
two guys
something. I can't see Ryan really loving this thing. I could just see him making the face he makes when I make a joke that doesn't quite land, and then he might get a chuckle like a few seconds later at how ridiculous I sounded.
Well, I have a lot of practice on that with you. Yeah,
I imagine a lot of those faces, but I think he probably thought it was cute. I think Michael maybe likes it more than Ryan, although I don't know Mike's taste quite as well. Salty. Well, there's some salty humor. A lot of like testicle jokes and stuff, which that could be up your alley. It certainly was up my alley.
Hey.
I would say I could see Mike liking it more than Ryan. That would be my prediction.
Okay, those are fun.
All right, predictions are predicted.
All right, votes are tabulated. Next, Mike, you tell us what this is about, right? Isn't that what it is?
Oh yes, Ryan.
I just drifted off. I just totally went somewhere else. Okay, please
wake up, drink some green tea.
Save us, Michael. What was this show about?
Princess Tia Beanie. Bean is annoyed at her imminent arranged marriage to Prince Merkimer. Then she meets Lucy, a demon, and Elfo, an elf. And things get rather exciting and dangerous. Princess Bean, in this episode, Princess Bean already has the wedding day blues when a mysterious figure arrives claiming he's her personal demon. Also, Elfo hates his happy homeland.
Fantastic. I want you to recap my
obituary. I remembered, by the way, what my opening line was going to be. I was going to say Disenchantment was a lot like To Fly.
That's a play that Ryan wrote.
Yeah, and it was, and
nobody knows about except for him and me and the people that were in the play.
Yeah,
and there was people that watched the play that probably tried to forget about it. No, it was pretty good. It was okay. Yeah, it was good.
But it was we don't have to get into it, but it did only towards the end when I realized the three characters, I was like, whoa, that's very much like the three characters, and the setting and the style of The play that I wrote. I
They
liked it
ripped
very
you
much.
off.
It's my
Wow.
favorite play that I wrote personally. I liked it very much. Anyway, so what we like to do is we like to say what we expected versus what we got. Michael, before you watched this episode, before you knew who this guy was or this guy or whatever, what did you expect?
Well, I will tell you
Oh, good.
that I have seen this first episode. Before I watched it this morning, I have seen it probably 3 times before that. I really like Disenchantment a lot.
Ah,
And in
we got a
fact,
ringer.
I've got a Comic-Con exclusive.
Upside down. There you
Bye. Oh, there you
go.
Of my favorite character, Elpha.
Nice.
Wow.
I know somebody that used to work on the show, and she was able to get us some swag, and so that was pretty awesome. We love it. We call it the Elfo. My wife and I, we both love the show. We call it the Elfo show. And so what I expected when I was going to watch it this morning was to pick up some new things. You know, you watch something that you've seen before, you expect to see, like when we watched Futurama. I was like, oh, I'm really interested in rewatching this first episode of Futurama because I know I'm going to pick up some. They always put in all these cool background jokes that you would miss, like if you're just watching the episode all the way through. But then this time, because I've seen it so many times, I'm like, oh, okay, oh, that's a thing that I missed the first time. So I picked it up this time. So that's what I expected.
Well, Neil, I don't think you had seen it before, but what did you expect before you watched it?
On the contrary, I have a poster from the I knew nothing about as I kind of mentioned to Ryan before, I don't really watch a lot of TV, let alone cartoons. I don't. I have nothing against them.
They're animated series.
Animated series.
The cartoon.
Beautiful animations, really well done. I knew nothing about it. I didn't really have a lot of expectations. I guess when I saw Matt Groening's, is that how you say his last name? Groening's name at the beginning. I said, oh, all right, well, I know that name. That's the Voltron guy. No, obviously it's the Simpsons guy. I know that. And many other shows, I'm sure, that I'm not naming right now.
Futurama,
which I've never seen, but I'm sure it's lovely. Did he do King of the Hill as well? Is he?
No, that's Mike Judge.
I think there's those 3.
Okay.
As far as I know. I mean, he also did Life in Hell, but that was like a comic strip before The Simpsons.
So no real expectations, but
I immediately think, oh, this is going to be like, a lot of kids humor and stuff, which there were some fun kids stuff, but there was also some more.
Wait, that's what you got. Right now we're just talking about what you expected.
Oh, so I was expecting, okay, well, I don't get ahead of myself here, right? So I was expecting, maybe, some kids stuff with some adult things thrown in. Disenchantment, I expected magic, but probably unmagic, because it's not enchantment, it's disenchantment. So I thought maybe it was going to be dismagical.
You thought it was going to be dat enchantment.
Yeah, right. And it's disenchantment.
Okay.
So that was about what I expected.
Well, I'll tell you what I expected.
This is what I want to hear.
I don't have much to say though, Michael. I'm sorry. I knew it was. I knew it was Matt Groening. I knew it was the Simpsons guy. I knew it was fantasy. I think Netflix was kind of pushing it when it first came out, so I feel like I was very aware of it, but I wasn't really interested in watching it because it's just another thing to watch. Although I highly respect, Matt Groening, and I figured it was probably going to be some kind of quality. but I wasn't really expecting to enjoy it for some reason. I just kind of felt like I'm not saying
I wonder why.
I'm not saying I was gonna hate it. I'm just saying I was just kind of thinking like, I feel like if it was really good, I would have heard something. The internet would have been a flutter about it, or
I
a
would have
buzz about
immediately
it.
texted you and been like,
Right.
OMG, Ryan.
Right. Or Michael
Right
would. I didn't
now.
even know that Michael had seen it.
So obviously that should tell you something, that I know that you don't like these shows, so I'm not gonna like text. Oh, you should see this new cartoon that came out. That's really
show?
fun.
But I liked The Simpsons back in the day. Anyway, so that's what I expected. I knew it was going to be fantasy. I knew it was Matt. I knew, that it was going to be, I don't know, who knows? I guess only I do. But that's all I really expected. Michael, what
use your words and tell us.
I don't have many words. I know like 40 words in total. What did you actually get?
Yeah, I what I expected is what I got. I got an episode that I really enjoyed watching the first 3 times, and that I enjoyed watching a 4th time, and that I was able to pick out some little fun things that I had missed upon previous viewings.
Neil, what did you actually get?
So this is why I say whether I enjoyed it or just my
Sure, whatever you want. What did you get when you watched
okay.
it?
I thought it was a nice little show. I'm probably not the target audience for it, as someone who doesn't really even watch TV. But it was well done. There were some good jokes that I laughed at. When I put it up there with The Simpsons, well, it's just the first episode. How good was the original Simpsons pilot? I mean, Homer's voice didn't even get good until like season 2 or 3, right? So,
right.
This could be a show that, are there multiple seasons of it? I mean, maybe it just keeps getting better and better. I don't know, but I thought it was a nice little show.
Season 3 is available to stream, and then they're working on season 4. So.
Already that fast? Holy crap!
So this has existed for many years, and I had no idea that it existed.
Life is tough, man. It's not. Nobody ever said it was easy. Well, I'll tell you what I got.
All right, this is what I've been waiting for.
No, you already used that line.
But this is what I've been really waiting for.
Makes sense. What I got was, unsurprisingly, some very sophisticated writing and humor, and an incredible amount of nonstop clever one-liners, like jam-packed, nonstop. Almost every single line was noteworthy, which is just, the mark of, true professionals. So that's what I got. And I got that in a world that I enjoy, which is fantasy stuff with ogres and gnomes. They didn't call them ogres and gnomes, but we know it was ogres and gnomes. At least for sure gnomes, because lots of cartoons, they can switch around ogres and trolls and orcs, so that's what, or even giants. Sometimes they just call them ugly giants. So that's what I got. I got a very fun and interesting world, nice, stuff in the animation, and just jam-packed to the max with very clever one-liners.
Nobody ever leaves. What about Levo? We don't talk about Levo.
He said, Speako, don't speak of Levo, or like, he says, we don't speak of Levo, Speako.
Not even Returno came back.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is very clever to me, even though it sounds stupid. It's deliberately stupid, which is very clever. That's what I got.
All right. I've never been so happy to be wrong.
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said what I got. What are you going to say?
I was
Neil?
wrong.
I don't know if he was necessarily singing its praises to the moon. It felt like it was like he enjoyed it, but it was, wasn't blown away by it, right?
Yeah. Look, it's tough to really give any criticism on it because I feel like they accomplished what they set out to accomplish. And again, when I said unsurprisingly, I was a little surprised, but I shouldn't have been surprised because this is a guy that's been doing this for decades. He's very clever. He obviously knows his stuff. He obviously has a very good staff that knows how to write his voice, so he's not constantly out there writing every line, unless maybe he is. I don't think so. But I was very impressed with, again, the quantity of quality jokes, one-liners, constant, every line,
every 3 seconds was like a new joke.
Well, I think that I could be wrong. Correct me if I am wrong in the comments or in the live chat. But from what I knew about talking to my friend that worked there, she said that a lot of the people from Futurama who are out of work at this point came over to this show. I mean, even a lot of those voice actors are the same people from Futurama, with the exception of some new ones. Princess Tia Beanie.
I heard Groundskeeper Willie in there.
Possible.
That's why I thought maybe the king was like.
The king is the guy who does Bender.
Well, it turned out to not be who he sounded like someone from The Simpsons, but I looked it up and I don't think.
No, he
had one of those voices.
He's from Futurama. He does the voice of Bender, the foul-mouthed robot in Futurama.
That king was my favorite voice. Like, I don't know about favorite character, but certainly favorite voice. He was just fun the way he spoke. But what were you saying? Sorry, Mike.
Oh, I was gonna say Tress MacNeille, who did like pretty much every non-main character female voice in Futurama. I think she's done a lot in Simpsons as well. I think she did the voice of the the female priest, and she's like,
that was good.
What was she saying? I kind of wrote some like the invisible god that we think is up there, and he or she or it or whatever is looking down upon us or watches over us, if that's something that they like to do is watch or something. And then like the other guy's like, this religion is in its infant stages or some early stages. That was hilarious.
That was a good bit.
I agree. There's just so many hilarious lines, and I want to find out what you guys' favorite funny lines are, because I know that you all have some. My favorite line, I'll just start off by saying, and I'm sorry if I'm taking your favorite line, but this is my favorite line in this entire episode, maybe in the entire series, actually, of Disenchantment, is when Elfo is at the end of the gnome and ogre war, and he says, well, I like war, but I don't love it.
No, I was like, Michael's going to laugh at that one.
I laugh every single time I hear that. And then like later, like I'm still laughing from watching it earlier today. Just like, oh man, that line is just kills me every time.
Yeah, I'm still laughing about stuff that people said. Well, you don't know this stuff.
Oh, all right.
What are your favorite lines, Neil?
I also there were several, but I also picked an Elfo line when he first sees the kingdom and he says, wow, it's so small. No, wait, I'm just far away.
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, but also he lived in the small elf village where he didn't actually see things far away. So it was it worked for his character, which is why it was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
So far away. Okay, well, I mean, since you asked, Michael, and I do have a short list of lines that I took notes on. Let's see. One of them was when the princess towards the beginning is coming, she's getting carried back, and the guy that's about to get killed, he's in that thing. What are those things called when they're the guillotine kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, sorry, I can't make your wedding, which is a funny line. And she says, want to switch places, which is a funny line. And he says, nah, I'm good, which is, it's like boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
Very good. Or when the king says, nobody look at her when she takes off her shirt. If next person that looks at her is going to get killed or whatever. And then some guy walks in, he goes, oh boy, did I look at her. Again, very funny. Look, I'm telling you, I took notes on some of my favorites. When the Elf King walks in on Elfo and Kissy Pants, making out, and he goes, what in humping heavens is going on here? And they say, she says, nothing, father. And he goes, well, weirdo doesn't take his pants off for nothing. All these things are like, if your ears blink, you miss it, you know?
Yeah.
And weirdo being one of, the elves are named Weird O, Sing O, Shock O. So it.
What?
Yeah, that
Shock
guy had several little lines where someone would say something and you hear it from far away, go,
huh? That was Shako.
Yeah.
Another line was when they're running the Elfo and Kissy Pants, and they're running, and he's about to pull the lever, and Superviso says, I don't know why we leave that lever there, because then he can get away. And speak no more of Levo Speako is another one.
There's another one that Kissy said. She said, I'm going to tell you something I've never said before. I don't want to go all the way.
Yeah. That was a Mike joke.
Likes to kiss.
No elf has ever returned, not even Returno. When the farmers were yelling at him, and they're like,
farmers.
They're like, get out, praiser. I thought that was
just humble people. We don't have names.
You're ruining our life with your praise.
The last one was just a little, not a line, but like a little tidbit that was on one of the buildings. It was called Kraken Barrel.
That's one of the things that I missed, like the first few times that I saw it, and like I was like, oh, that's hilarious, man. Like it's like Cracker Barrel, but Kraken Barrel, because it's a fantasy world.
No wonder I liked it. Just chock full of funny lines.
I also liked when they're talking to the prostitute fairy, and then she's like something like, oh, that sounds free or something like that. You should go talk to the Wishmaster. And then they're like, how can we repay you? And she's like, money works. Leave it on the branch.
Yeah.
You guys talked a little bit about the Elf-O thing. I thought it was very funny and clever that they all had just an O at the end. Okay, look, let's address
except for the female elves have an E. Kissy, and there's other, like later on we find there's other female elves that have an E at the end.
No, but let's address the elephant in the room here.
The elephant.
Exactly.
Elephant.
These guys were clearly modeled after the Smurfs, right? The way they all had like what they do in their name, like Grouchy Smurf, Grandpa Smurf, Brainy Smurf, Clumsy Smurf, Jokey Smurf.
It goes back to the Seven Dwarves as well. There's a lineage there of small people with short names of what they do.
He's not just a clever filmmaker, this guy.
I don't know. Did you guys get a Smurfs vibe? I got a very heavy Smurfs vibe, but I also just thought that they were consistently funny in that elf village. What do you guys think?
What's hilarious to me is they all have these different names based on their job or their attributes or whatever. But Elfo is the only elf named Elfo. They're all elves, but he's the one that's named Elfo.
Mm-hmm.
Chosen one, if you will.
Maybe.
He's the elfiest of all the elves.
Because that is funny. I thought the same thing. I was like, that is deliberately unclever, which is funny.
Yeah, because he's, if he was, Plinko or Binko, it probably would, if it was a joke, it would get old at a certain point. Mm-hmm. You can only trot out Shako so many times.
What?
You got to go with a more neutral name, I would say.
And Levo was already taken.
Mm-hmm.
Levo, Returno.
The Washmaster gag was a little to me. I did think it was funny though, the ogre that had the thing in his eye, and then the guy jumps up and puts the other knife in his eye. He's like, "Oh man, I'm glad you can't see this," or something, whatever. Like these are just so funny. It's adorable.
When Elfo like leaves the elf kingdom, whatever, he's like, "Oh man, I've never felt. I feel for the first time in my life, I feel completely calm." And then like a hawk picks him up and takes him.
Yeah.
And then he's like talking the hawk's ears off, and the hawk's like finally like, "I've had enough of this." He just drops him.
I liked how the elf Elfo, everyone there is happy and he wants to go somewhere where people are miserable, and he says, "Oh, why I just want to go where some people, everyone is just miserable all the time." And I thought, why don't you just go to Massachusetts in the winter time? Because it reminded me of my upbringing. It's like you take pride in your misery, and I could respect that he wants to be around miserable people. We all, it's a kind of a rite of passage, right?
Yeah,
he's tired of eating candy. I want to eat mustard, vinegar, sardines.
It's funny though, because Neil, you're no longer in Massachusetts, you're in LA, but you still have that temperament. You're still like you take pride in your solemnness. You're like, it's always 70 over here. What's going on?
Oh God, it dropped to 65.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never leaves you, and then you got to take pride in the things that you just can't shake off, right? Or otherwise you just hate yourself. So it's either that or I hate myself.
Do you guys still call yourselves massholes?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you can't say that. We can say it to each other.
That's their word, Ryan.
Yeah, that's our word.
The first person I heard say that was Clay Turnage, one of the best ADs in the game, as you recall.
Great guy, yeah.
And he mentioned something about massholes, and I was like, what did you? Because he's from there too, so I guess he's allowed to. But we're not, Michael.
Yeah, I don't know why you would use the M word.
See,
edit that out or bleep it.
What do you guys think about Lucy, the demon guy?
Yes, voiced by Eric Andre.
Has he done a cartoon?
He's a comedian.
I thought that was a nice little gag. I clearly there's something which is not really explained in the first episode, which is who are these people who unleash the demon upon the princess and why, which maybe Michael knows the reasoning behind. We don't really get it. It's kind of a dangling thread in the initial episode, but I liked how, he didn't just come out of nowhere. Someone is clearly trying to influence the princess with this demon character who ends up, he's following this girl who kind of like hates her life anyway, and she's into debaucherous behavior. So it's kind of a nice match with the two of them.
And then you got Elfo as their third pal.
Yeah, when they first introduced the demon. And there was another funny line. I think I wrote this one down too. When she says, whatever it was, she yells and she's like, "Hey, there's a tiny demon." No, she says, "A weird ghost is attacking and complimenting me." And then she said, then later she called him a tiny demon, which immediately made me think of "There shined a tiny demon."
Oh, the Tenacious D.
There it is. Tenacious D, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, but he says there shined a shiny demon.
Shined a shiny demon.
That's the greatest song
in the middle of the road.
It's the greatest song in the world. I mean, it doesn't sound like that. This song is just a tribute.
Yeah, it's a tribute to the greatest song.
A lot of people miss that part of the song. They missed that he says it's just a tribute.
It's a tribute, yeah. Mm-hmm. This is not the greatest song in the world.
No.
This is just a tribute.
All right, we did it. All right.
Tenacious 3.
Oh, the Tenacious. No, never mind.
So, Neil, who's your favorite character thus far?
Ooh,
I know.
All right, I'll pick my low key favorite
Your
was
sleeper?
my sleeper. There were a few. I liked the single appearance of Elfo's dad, who sounded like Christopher Walken. I think it was Elfo's dad who like shows up and he goes, I want to
Tells a story.
I think I need to tell you the story, but I'll take away the. It's a terrible Christopher Walken impression.
Yeah.
But, he takes away the. It takes so you need like your hair up to do it. It sounds better. I'll take this. They take this chair away, and he pulls the chair away. I like that voice. I don't know who did that voice, but that was my low key pick. But I got to go with Elfo. I mean, he just had so many wonderful lines. He's kind of the fish out of water, so he gets all the fish out of water funny observations. So I'd go with Elfo with his dad as my sleeper pick.
Mm-hmm. Very funny, Michael. Are we correct in assuming that Elfo is your favorite guy too?
Probably not a stretch to imagine that Elfo is, and we call it the Elfo show, so we definitely love Elfo. But if I had to pick a sleeper for myself, it would probably be Prince Merkimer, who is voiced by Matt Berry. He's a British comedian, and he was on the second season of the IT Crowd. He played the owner's son who like turns into a rich spoiled brat. He's also in What We Do in the Shadows as Laszlo, the vampire. So he's definitely one of my favorite comic actors from Britain.
Laszlo is also the name of one of Darth's Dungeons and Dragons characters, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember that. I'd have to look it up. I probably have it somewhere in my character sheets, but
it was Laszlo. See, Neil, we can't go one episode without Michael like talking about British shows, and it's just exhausting.
I think you would like What We Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows is actually, I think it's filmed in America. It's an American show, but it was written and produced by two people from New Zealand.
Yeah.
One, Jermaine Clement of The Flight of the Conchords.
Right.
And one, Taika Waititi, who is one of my favorite directors.
He's great.
It wasn't actually, I believe, that's kind of like a horror type thing or a weird thing, right? I believe Doug Jones was in
horror comedy. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, maybe WTF.
What We Do in the Shadows. Man, I'd be all over that. Although
fun.
I'm giving myself away now if we ever do watch it. But
yeah. Oh, let me tell you my favorite.
All right.
I guess probably there's probably not a lot of thought that goes into this. Elfo definitely was the funniest.
Right.
Pretty much hands down. I really liked the voiceover of the king, although when I say the king, there are like 5 kings introduced so far, but I mean like the princess's
King
dad.
Zod. King Zod. He's the main king, yeah. The king of Dreamland. And he's the king that you see mostly in the series. Like all these other kings go away. So
oh, good. Keeps it simple.
Yeah.
The king of the Iron Throne, which there was an Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Did a little.
And then the guy goes to, I'll get the ring. He's dead. I'm actually not. If somebody could just slide my head up.
Didn't
drapes the lace over him.
Yeah, she's like, quiet. There's a wedding happening.
when that character was introduced, that he reminded me of Ryan so much because they go, what was his name? Prince Handsome
Merkimer.
Dan.
Prince Merkimer.
The first one.
Brother,
the first one.
So the first one gets introduced, and he shows up, and he goes like this. And I said, that's the pose Ryan makes in every photo. He goes like, that's the Ryan pose.
Oh, Giesbert. Yeah.
Giesbert. Okay.
I'm Geekspert. It's Geekspert.
Yeah, you sure are.
Do I pose like this now?
Well, like to the side and with your head up.
That is me.
To the
Here
side
I
a
am.
little bit. Yeah. No, your body to the side.
That's so much work being me.
All right, there we go.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
That's the Ryan right there.
That's it. There it is. Patent pending.
I sound insufferable.
Yet we find a way to suffer you. So it's because we love you.
The insufferable husk. So, Michael, you have any other things you'd like to touch on, or are we going
probably
to
about a
change
million.
channels
There's
here?
the race, beware racist antelope, and then he's like,
yeah, that's funny.
An elf and a human. That ain't right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was on the sign. It said, what is it, Enchanted Forest or something? Beware racist antelope.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah, layered show.
Yeah,
See?
And
I
it had a
guess
Southern accent.
another thing I wanted to bring up. This is kind of unrelated to the show, except for the name of the show. Is the name Disenchantment is actually something that you do in the World of Warcraft. Here, I bring up World of Warcraft again, like almost every episode, also. But there's a trade skill called Enchanter, and in order to enchant materials, you have to disenchant magical items to get them their enchanting materials, and then you can enchant other items. So say you get, when you're fighting monsters, you kill a bunch of monsters and you get their loot, and then you get some magical items, and you're like, all right, I can disenchant these magical items. And then like you're like, hey, I've got this cool thing that I'm wearing on my chest. I'm going to give myself some more armor by enchanting it. So that's a cool thing that I liked.
So before you can enchant it, you have to first disenchant whoever enchanted it previously, and then you can put your own enchantment on it. Is that how it
Correct.
works?
Or you can buy enchanting materials on the auction house, but that's a totally different conversation.
Yes, Neil, I got your text. Yes, we will edit that part out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, except I'm the one doing the editing, so not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Sorry about that, everybody. Neil tried really hard. He sent 4 texts about it with that funny face. It's like this.
Oh, please.
That's my favorite face. The emoji that's like this.
That was me when I'd get like, when I'd get like 4 tables at once, and they go, Neil, take these 4, and I go, oh.
Okay, so you brought up, so I'm allowed to tell one Neil story before we get into Neil as the professional. So Neil and I met each other at the Daily Grill in Studio City. We were both waiters. We loved working as waiters. Boy, was that a lot of fun. So
I don't remember that.
The point is that we would have a lot of fun. We met there and we would joke a lot and we screwed around a lot. And it was a good time. But one of my favorite things that Neil ever did was one time we were at the bar picking up our drinks, and Neil does an impression of a fellow by the name of Chris, good old Chris Gomez that we know, right? Chris Gomez.
Oh, I did a lot of impressions. It wasn't just of Chris.
No, but I'm just saying. So he does this impression. I think I just said something like, do your impression of Chris. And he goes, I still remember like it was yesterday. He's like, Chris is just like, right. Then, so I'm laughing my ass off. I go to a table, I drop off, the strawberry lemonade or whatever the hell it was. And then we come back, and then I go, oh, do an impression of me now, Neil. And Neil, I swear, he goes, and I was like, wait, your impression for me is the exact same thing as your impression for Chris? We're very different people. And then, of course, Neil was like, Neil is very like, he likes to wrestle, so he was like, no, it wasn't. They're 2 different impressions. And then he did both side by side. There, anyway, I don't know if you remember that, Neil, but it was the greatest day of my life. Thank you.
Okay, I do not remember that. I'll take your word for it that is what I said, and that is actually the face and the sound I made. Yes, I don't remember that impression. I
was a sea lion in your mind.
Yeah, it's like, does everyone sound like a hound dog to me?
So now that everyone watching is thoroughly confused because nobody knows who Chris Gomez is.
Chris knows.
Chris,
Juan
we love you.
Knows
if you're watching at home, we love you, Chris. And
yeah,
I think that impression was a little unfair. I'm sure it was. Sure, the way I did it had a little more pathos and a little more
nuance. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, Neil, besides all that, besides being an incredible improvisational comedian that can really do impressions, it's fantastic. You are also a really good writer, director, producer. You've made some really cool horror things, horror shorts. I've been fortunate enough to produce, I think, 3 of them with you, and each one seems to be getting better than the previous one. And so I'm really excited for the next ones. But can you talk about some of them for us now?
I can. Should I talk about the one we just recently did?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's called Face Your Fears. It's about a young woman terrified of the dark, takes on a pet sitting job, and discovers a box that will cure her fear if she faces it first. And
That's the box.
you can't see it down here, but you pick
What's
your
in the
fear.
box?
Exactly right, exactly. The whole time you're like, "What's in the box?" Well, you have to watch the movie to find out.
Damn it.
It's actually pretty. You know, I'm being very blasé about it, but it's kind of it's a scary movie. It's not a comedy. It's
very good.
in the dark, and it's pretty creepy, I think. But yeah, me and Ryan did that one. It came out well, I don't
Last year.
Last year was like a pandemic, and that kind of changed everything. But it won a bunch of awards on the festival circuit, including the grand jury at my hometown Salem Horror Festival.
Wow.
Which I could not attend because it was virtual. But it's on YouTube, and it's got close to, I think, 100,000 views. And I'm trying to make not as many as, Fallingtower, but or as many as views as this is clearly going to get. But yeah, it's and I'm trying to make a feature version, but I had to make a different game because it turns out you can't just use the same. It's hard to take the game and then put it into a totally different story and try to get it to work. So I had to create a new game, a new board game from scratch. I have a prototype here, but it's gonna. This is it. This is the X-wing from Star Wars. It's not. This isn't involved in the movie, but yeah, a new board game horror movie that I'm very excited. I hope I'm gonna start pitching it soon, and it's called Play Dead, and we'll see what happens with that. But that's the other main project, and I have a TV anthology series I'm also writing based on current technological trends and injecting horror sci-fi into it. There's a lot of sci-fi, Ryan, so you might be into this next thing I'm doing.
Nice. Well, I like all of your stuff because everybody at home, Neil is very open-minded. There's certain people that are like, they've got this vision and they stick with it. Neil is more of like a student of the business. He listens, he learns, he asks questions, he hems and haws and says, that's a better idea. I want to stick with this. And that's why Neil, you and Michael Kenyon Rosenberg are two of my favorite directors to work with, whether it's as an actor or as a producer, and for very similar reasons as well. But yeah, you're great at it because you really put in the time. You workshop the script, you have people read it, you look at it, you study things, you read up on things, and you really kind of try to perfect the art. Whereas a lot of people in this town, they just want to hurry up and be famous already. And they think if they just throw anything out there that their shits don't stink. But the people that know that their shit do stink are the ones that actually are successful, because then they make a second version and then a third version, and then they end up with something really good. And so that's it's really always great to work with you because of what a student of the game you are, and because you're great to work with. You're really easygoing. You keep your mind on the big picture and don't sweat the small stuff. So everybody, I highly recommend when Neil puts out a casting notice, if you see Neil Patrick Stevens.
I don't usually put my middle name in or you Neil P. I feel like it's too close to Doogie Howser.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, Neil.
Well, the point is, everybody, to go audition for it because it's going to be a really good product.
My question though is, when did you meet another Michael Kenyon Rosenberg? Because I'm usually too impatient to do all that stuff with my films. I'll like make the film and then I'll like be like, oh God, I gotta edit this thing. What the heck? I hate editing. And
well, my
information
is a few years old.
I come out with an edit, and then I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm putting that on the shelf, and I'm never looking at that ever again.
Tomato.
I acted in one of Mike's short films.
Oh, yeah, you did,
right?
yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I was like an extra.
Shutterbug.
Right. That
Yeah,
was a
Shutterbug.
terrible one. That one came
I
out
was
like a piece of shit. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was lovely. It was a lovely little story, and I'm in the background. I think with my wife and,
Right.
and
Yeah.
a couple of the shots.
Mhm.
That
And you
was
also
fun.
stole the show in a Fallingtower production called The Contest 2,
Oh God,
which was also a very good item.
that was a long time. That might have been my first IMDb credit. I think
I think that was
that was
2008.
I wasn't even writing,
Born.
directing. I don't even think I was acting back then. That was so
That
long
one
ago.
was directed by one Ryan T. Husk.
That was me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Also starring Tim Springer. But anyway, so the point is, everybody, we'll put some links in the description box below so you can find Neil's goodies. But definitely, at the very least, check out his YouTube page with some of his short films. They're really good. Personally, I'm proud to have worked on them and to have my name on them. And I hope, Neil, you are proud of how they came out too.
I'm very proud. And it was great to work with you. You always bring a fun, light Ryan jokiness to all the sets, which is always a good time. But you're you understand the business side, but you also give a lot of creative input, which I'm happy to receive. And thank you for your kind words. A lot of it is just insecurity about knowing if what you're doing is good enough. And I'm just like, give me ideas. What do you think? What do you think? I don't know.
It works.
But it works. I think that's an underrated thing. Just admit that you got a shitty idea, and then like, all right, well, how do we make this better? I hit up Ryan, and he gives me
more shitty ideas.
10 shitty, but there'll be one.
And then you go, wait a minute, wait.
Nugget.
There we go. I'm going to use this.
Yeah, this might be something. So I too hope to be proud of something one day, but okay.
You should be.
I'm proud of this episode. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, people are like, okay, well, if you guys are done in each other's dicks real quick, can you get back to the show? So the point is,
all right, let's mop it up.
Yeah, let's get back to the show. So anyway, Neil, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody check the description box below for his goodies. Now we're moving on to the final segment, which is called The Bottom Line.
That's it.
Sound effect there?
No, it's just that Mike likes to call it the terrible twos. So I was waiting for him to say, you mean the terrible twos?
Nope, the bottom line.
It's the final two questions of the show. That's it. Mike does his karate chop moves. And the final two questions, the most important two questions, in fact, we save them for the end. Number one is Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this first episode? I know not to be fooled by that. What would you give the first episode of Disenchantment entitled, it was a long one, A Princess, an Elf, and a Demon Walk into a Bar?
A princess, an elf, and a demon walk into a bar. I would give this episode a 9. I agree that they accomplished everything that they set out to do. The humor was on point, and more importantly, the humor set the tone for the rest of the series so far too. So they introduced all the main characters, even the very small introduction you get of Una, Princess Bean's stepmother. She has this little fun segment where she's like, I have sex with your father. And Bean's like, I don't want to hear about that. This one time I felt like I had a bunch of butterflies. I shouldn't have eaten so many. So you get a small introduction to her. She plays a bigger role later, but you get introduced to her. You get introduced to Bee and Lucy, Alpha. Even Merkimer plays a bigger part later, and you get introduced to him. So I like that. I think it's a solid pilot, solid first episode, because it shows you what the rest of the series is going to be, but it doesn't tell you everything. It still leaves some amount of mystery, and there is not a lot of magic in this first episode. I mean, there's a demon that appears and there's like elves and stuff like that, but there's a lot more magic later on in the series. If that entices anybody, Ryan.
It doesn't change anything because we base this on the first episode.
9 out of 10.
Very good. Neil, this is the big one. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this first episode?
And by the way, is anything flashing at me? Because I have this light on and it's blinking, which is it's very disorienting for me. But as long as it's not disorienting anyone else,
not at all. I enjoy
you
it.
see it blinking like a Christmas light right now.
No.
All right. If I go into an epileptic shock or something, that explains why.
Oh wait,
Noted.
yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
All
right. You see it? Okay. I wish I could just go light-o zingo, and I assume that's how the magic works in this episode.
No.
I don't know because they don't really reveal a lot of the magic yet, but we know that there's magic. First of all, I just want to say I'm not a huge I'm not a huge fan of rating things because I have stuff out there that people rate, and when people are like, I give this a 3 out of 10, or this was like really good 4 out of 10, it actually. It kind of hurts the people who create it if they're not just giving you 10 out of 10.
Mm.
So I'm not a huge rater, and so I'm going to skew a little bit high because I know what it's like to be rated low. I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Wowie.
I think it was really well done. It's not my cup of tea necessarily, but
Is it your flagon of ale though?
I would drink from the flagon. I would sip from the flagon of ale. I think it's a really smart show for what it does. It's jam-packed full of jokes, but it also it has a nice sort of story, identifiable story with these characters. Very modern humor set in medieval times. The episode was a lot of fun, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger, literally.
A cliff faller,
if you will. Right, it's a cliff faller, not a cliffhanger. Big difference. Mm-hmm. Cliffhanger is a great movie, though. Sylvester Stallone. We should review that movie. Fantastic.
We don't do movies. We just do the first episodes of series.
Okay, all right.
We only watch the first of things. You can't watch the first of a movie because that's the whole thing.
Unless there's like 3 other cliffhangers. If there were like, if Stallone made it into like 6 cliffhangers, like in Rocky or something, but he didn't, unfortunately.
May I remind you guys, we have an audience watching this.
Right.
Do we though?
8.5 out of 10. Lovely show. Not my thing, but if you're into Simpsons, Futurama, all those other cartoons that I don't really know about, I'm sure you'll dig this one.
Okay.
All right. Well, this is what I've really been waiting. The real waiting for right here.
Really? Wow. You wait a lot. I'm taking 2 things that have been said about me recently to heart. One was when Michael called me a curmudgeon earlier today. And the other was when Neil said, when you rate things low, it hurts people. That wasn't said about me, but kind of felt like it was. So for that reason, I am adding 0.5 to this. So I'm going to give it a 2 point. No, I'm just kidding. Let me think. Here's the thing.
Ryan, the master of misdirection.
I like the world. I love D&D kind of stuff. I love fantasy stuff. I love that it's animated so that you can just make as many ogres and gnomes and you have no limits. You don't have because drawing something is drawing something. The budget's basically going to be the same. Whereas in real life stuff or live action stuff, you have to build this ogre and orc, whatever. So it's cool. And it's going to create this world of gnomes and ogres and elves and all this kind of stuff, which I love. I was also very impressed with how many one-liners they had in there. Very, very impressed with how clever and good they were about that. Not terribly enthralled by the story itself. I mean, it's just like it's a very usual kind of pilot. Three characters come together and they go off and they do, whatever, cool, the little call to action kind of thing or whatever in a way. So I was going to give it a 7, straight down the middle, and a very impressed 7. But I'm going to give it a 7.5 now because of you guys, and because honestly, I feel like it deserves better than a 7. It was just when the show ended and I put it away and I went, I just kind of thought, feels like a 7, just kind of more of a feeling, but very sophisticated writing, and I was impressed.
How can we get that up to an 8?
What do we have to do?
If we just make it like scale of 2 to or 1.5 to 10.5, I'll make it an 8.
All right, 8 it is. Mark it down.
Now, the other thing is, the final question is the real bottom line. For the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of Disenchantment. But now that the podcast is over and you're free to move about the internet, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode of your own volition?
Well, I have, but that's not the question.
Yeah,
I have watched the second episode at least a couple times. And I would continue to watch, because I've only seen season 3 one time. So I'd be very interested to see season 3 again. So I'd want to watch the whole thing through to season 3, probably hopefully before season 4 comes out. That way I'm fresh in my mind about what happened.
All right. Neil, based on this first episode, would you watch the second?
I would not, and that's no shine at the show and the people who made it. It's just not my thing. A TV show is a big time engagement. You got to spend a lot of time, and I watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of weird movies and old movies, and when I watch TV shows, I generally watch stuff that I am truly obsessed with. So I didn't feel obsessed with this show, though it was lovely, and I imagine a lot of the audience would enjoy watching a second. So please don't base your engagement in the show off of what I am saying.
Oh, they totally will.
Abundantly clear already.
They're like, we know what Ryan and Mike are going to say. What we're really interested in is what is their guest going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of something a professor of mine once said. She said, "Don't read good books, only read the great ones."
That you only have a certain amount of time, and there's so much great stuff out there vying for our attention these days, and it's hard for me to get into something unless I am just
Great. You just made everybody go, "You're right," and turn off this episode. Like, what am I doing with my
Why are
life?
we wasting our lives watching
What's
these
going on here? I
dipshits?
just watch them while I'm ironing. But I don't think anybody was surprised when Neil said, "I watch a lot of weird movies." They're like, "Yeah, that tracks."
Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. Well, for me,
All right, this is all those things I was waiting for before. This is the one right here.
That's it, folks. Drum
Neil,
roll.
you are here to witness the first day that Mike discovered his catchphrase. So I would not watch the second episode because
Ryan, come on.
I'm just-
Ryan.
I'm not here's the thing. I'm not opposed to watching the next. It's a very easy watch. If somebody had it on, it wouldn't bother me. And I do feel like it's something where you can kind of half watch, or you could completely watch, and it's still entertaining either way. If you're just watching for the one-liners, you can fade in and out. If you want to really try to pick up on everything, it's good for everybody. But there wasn't this compelling story that made me feel like I didn't feel like I needed to watch the next episode to find out what would happen, even though they fell off a cliff and I'm supposed to be like, oh my God, I was like, is the hawk going to come save him? I don't know.
No, that's a good one.
See, but the hawk might be like, oh no, it's that dick. I'm sick of him. I don't know. I'm not opposed to watching it, and I do think it deserves to be watched a second time. It is good enough for people to watch it. It's certainly not a reflection on the show. It's more of just a reflection on me and
Your curmudgeonous.
and to be perfectly
curmudgeousness.
honest, I might watch
Curmudgeonicity, yeah.
I might watch the second episode. I might just put it on while I'm doing something or whatever, just to have it on and watch a couple jokes here or there. But it's not something that I necessarily would go out and need to watch, if that makes sense. So it's
Well, I'll just
close.
tell everybody out there. I know that Ryan's going to be a curmudgeon, but as you can imagine, if you've seen this first episode, there's those two people that called Lucy up to be with Bean, and they play a larger part. And not only there's like way more than that too. The story gets way more intricate and way more interesting beyond just all the hilarious jokes.
What would you give okay, here's a bonus. What would you give the entire series so far, Michael? 1 to 10.
So far the entire series, I would give it an 8.75. A little bit lower than my rating of this first episode, but solid so far all the way through.
Cool. Wow. Maybe I will cheat and watch the second someday. Maybe. I'm not planning on it. Anyway,
Yes.
Neil, thank you so much for joining us. You're always lots of fun to hang out with and lots of fun to work with. We do hope you come back sometime, unless you didn't enjoy it.
You hated us.
Screw you
Yeah.
for judging us.
Yeah, let's rate this episode. Yeah, I had a lovely time. I'd love to come back if the gods desire it. This is a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for having me on.
The gods that may or may not exist.
Right.
He, she, or it may watch over us if that's something that they think they want to do. Yeah.
Cool. So basically what I'm trying to say is
Comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell us what to watch. Do our job for us.
Please, and share this around. Tell your friends. Who cares? Like, what do you got to do that's so important? You can't share this video around and give Neil some love and
Why
give
do you
us
hate
some love.
us?
Yeah, we're all friends. This podcast was the Contest 2 reunion.
Oh, was it 20 year?
Except Darth wasn't here.
Neil played the part.
13-year reunion.
Yeah, Neil played the part of New Ryan. Whoa.
Well, new Ryan, contestant,
right.
New Ryan auditioner.
Yeah, applicant.
Was I like
Yeah.
Bizarro Ryan? I was just like really, I just liked everything I watched, and
He was applying to replace me as Mike and Darth's friend.
New Ryan Levo. All right,
Very
this
funny.
episode was a 4 out of 4.
Whoa!
I got you.
Perfect.
Pulled the old Ryan on you. Neil, what was this episode?
I give this episode a
20.
20
out
or
of
10. That's
50.
20 out of 20 out of 50. No, that's
a 4 out of
low.
10.
That's 40. Wait a minute. No, this was this is a 10 out of 10. This is the Bo Derek of of episodes of reviews of the TV show, the first episode of Disenchantment.
Bo knows tens.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
an old
different.
sports reference.
Different Bo.
Okay. Bo Bridges. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. Check out Neil's goodies down below. And always remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg likes to say.
Don't forget, you better sign up to be an organ donor, but also watch the first episode of Disenchantment, people.
You don't always say that.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever said that specific phrase, but I always say something like that.